This is the only opening you need to know as black to beat everyone under 2000 ELO. So they play e4. You answer with d6. Now the great part is you can play it against e4, d4, c4. I call it the universal defense, for the reason that you can play it against everything, but against e4 it's called the Philidor defense. Now it's not the Philidor yet, but we are gonna get there. So d4, that's what pretty much everybody plays. Now you play knight to f6. You immediately attack the pawn. Now don't be afraid of the move e5. A lot of people ask me about it. It's just a very bad move that basically loses the game for white. So if you want, it's like a trap that you immediately can use to beat your opponent, because you just take, you exchange the queens, and then you play knight to g4. The knight is attacking here this pawn. White cannot defend both pawns at the same time, and at least is a pawn down. The most popular choice under 2000 is knight to h3, and then you just take, and it's -2, completely winning for black. Of course, you still need to work to win it, but this is a fantastic outcome of the opening. So realistically, they should play the move knight c3, and that is the most popular choice under 2000 ELO. Now, you answer with e5. At this point, this is the Philidor defense. If you play g6, that would be a completely different opening. That's called the Peer's defense. Possible, but not what I recommend. I recommend to play e5 to fight for the center, and this is called the Philidor defense. In this position, white can either take your pawn or play knight to f3. I have an entire playlist on this channel where I cover all of those lines, I play games, and I show you how to beat your opponent when they play that. On top of that, I have an entire opening course, both for white and black, all-in-one course where you build a lifetime opening repertoire in just 10 days. Both for white and black. There is an amazing offer right now, 50% off, don't miss it, the link is in the description. So, surprisingly enough, I was really shocked, because on top level, knight f3 with a huge margin is the most popular choice, and this is the best move for white. But under 2000, d takes e is 50%, 52% chance that your opponent is gonna play that, which is huge, but this is not a good move. You're absolutely fine here. Yet I hear it all over again that people are scared of this move. Please believe me, there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of. First, you're gonna learn so much about chess when you play this endgame, and second, you're gonna win so many games. Don't believe me on my word, just watch the video till the end and then try it yourself. You always take it. I mean, there is no problem with it. Now, the biggest try here for white under 2000 is bishop to g5, immediately winning this knight and preparing long castles. I want to remember one move. This is the golden move for the Philidor defense, and I really want you to remember it. This is the move c6. Absolutely beautiful move, and it's essential to stop this knight. The whole opening, it works so great because you play against this knight. It's just stupid there. And most of the people, definitely your opponent under 2000, wouldn't understand it till it's going to be way too late. So this is very important to stop it, because if you play something else, I don't know, the most popular choice under 2000 for black here is to play bishop e6, which is, I mean, not that bad because it's kind of stopping knight e5, but still I never ever want to allow white to play this move. In this particular case, it's fine, but if you play c6, it's never possible. So we just play c6. That's as simple. They castle, okay, everybody does that, and now you play knight d7. You always want to develop as many pieces as possible. Don't worry about this bishop. You do not need to develop it too early. It's gonna find its way later on. Don't worry about that. But first, knight d7. Now they play knight to f3. This is a big threat. In the Philidor defense, you never want to blunder your key extra pawn on e5. Please remember about that. But there is an easy way to defend it. In fact, there are two ways, very good moves for you to defend it. On top level, I recommend the move king to c7. It just is better objectively, and the position is completely equal now, and black has a lot of opportunities. Yet, you have to know how to react to this threat of the move bishop c4, and also, if they play bishop c4 from the very beginning, then I recommend this move king to e8. So not to make it too complicated for you, I just recommend you always go to e8 in your games, both if they play it immediately, and in our variation over here, we do not play king to c7, we just play king to e8 anyway. Why? Because yes, on a high computer depth, this position is a little bit better for white, but nobody cares about it, especially under 2000 ELO. This just does not make any difference whether it's 0.0 or 0.2 advantage for white. The most important thing is you know what you do. For example, everybody under 2000 is playing here bishop c4, which is already spoiling the entire advantage for white. Why? Because now we have the main plan that we always have in the Philidor defense, attack on the queen side. Please remember it, we always attack on the queen side here. And we can start with b5 by winning a tempo. What can be better than that? Don't be afraid if they take, I don't know, don't blunder here this spin, but as long as, this fork, sorry, as long as you do that, rook b8 and you're completely winning. That's easy enough. They play bishop b3, and then you immediately throw in the second pawn. And again, you're threatening just to beat your opponent. You're threatening to win the bishop on the spot. Under 2000, by a huge margin, the best, not the best, their main move is a4, which is logical. We stopped that idea. But now we play b4. They play knight to e2, and this position is already much better for black. This is literally the main line under 2000 on Lee chess. A lot of games, and knight e4, you're just much better here. Now, one thing I do want to warn you, if they do go to b1 or somewhere else, be careful with these takes, because you don't want to open up the center too much. If they play knight e2, yeah, that's all possible because the file is closed. The same idea wouldn't work. We have time to play f6, our knight is not hanging, and as soon as we have this stable pawn structure, it's just a pawn up position, everything is totally great for us. So that's it about this bishop g5. Very simple line. Play c6 to stop this knight to d5. Then always put your king to e8 and then launch this attack. One thing to notice. If they ever take, this is a bad move, but they often do it under 2000. No problems. Don't take with the knight, you're gonna spoil your main pawn on e5, never blunder it, but we always take with the pawn, and it's great for us, because it opens up the bishop, it opens up the rook, and it's a very solid pawn structure here. Don't worry, it's a double pawns. Double pawns are not always bad, in fact, it's a very solid pawn structure. If they ever try to go to f5, all you need to do is just exchange this guy, just put your knight away. By the way, remember this c5 square for the knight. This is literally the best possible spot you can get for it. Always try to go to c5 and then to play a5 to stop this b4 so that your knight can stay there. But the point here is whenever they play knight f5, you don't want to allow this knight to be here. Like specifically here, you can play knight e4 and just win the pawn. But let's say, I don't know, they play f3 first, we do something, and then they play knight f5. All you need to do to avoid any troubles whatsoever, just to take it. Again, this specific case, it's not necessary, but as long as you exchange it, you cannot get any troubles in terms of this knight d6 move or whatever. Remember, I have told you this bishop is gonna find its place. Here, it's just getting exchanged. Then you have an easy play, just get to the d file with your rooks, put your king in the center. So many players are afraid of this line specifically for a reason that, oh my god, we lose the rights to castle, it's so bad. No, it's not. The castles is important when there are queens on the board, because you don't want to get checkmated. This is the entire purpose of getting castled. Well, here there are no queens on the board, so you're not gonna get checkmated, there is no problem. And in fact, as you can see in this line, after bishop takes f5, that would be very cool to have our king in the center, because it's gonna control so many squares, it's gonna be better than the king on c1. And this is the case so often in the Philidor defense. Now, if they do go for bishop c4 here instead of bishop g5, and they immediately attack the pawn. Again, we just play king to e8. The beauty of this opening is that you don't need to memorize a lot of stuff. Just be careful with this threat. If they attack one pawn, you defend that. If they attack another pawn, you defend that one. Don't blunder anything. But as long as you don't do it, you're good to go. Knight f3. Very important thing I want you to remember. This pawn is hanging. We never want to blunder it, so we need to defend it. But the normal move that we often make in this opening knight to d7 doesn't work here. Yes, we defend this pawn, but there is a huge problem with the f7 pawn and we are busted. So please, if you see a combination of the moves bishop to c4 or and knight to f3, you always play bishop to d6. You defend it and you make this space on f8 free, the square for the rook, because you can just defend. Remember, you cannot castle, our king has already moved, but that's not a big deal because we play rook to f8, we defend the pawn, and then we can always just kick this knight away, it goes back, it just loses time, and then we can continue with our normal plan. So far so good. Bishop to d6, they play bishop g5, that seems to be the main line. Now we can safely play knight to d7, absolutely the same following the plan. We just cannot play the move c6 in this line because the bishop is hanging. Okay, no big deal. We play a6 instead, we prepare the move b5. Under 2000, for example, the main line is rook h2 e1, which is logical. Look, white has developed all of the pieces, which is what he's supposed to do, and your opponent would assume that he's better. But in fact, this exact position is absolutely equal according to the Stockfish, 0.0. And we can immediately just play b5 and again kick this bishop away. Then this bishop is gonna come here, it's going to be great. In the right moment, we can always play b4 so that we can grab that pawn. Or we can just play king to e7, rook to d8 and continue normally. Again, always and always be careful with this knight coming to d5. But here it's not a problem. Bishop b7. If they ever play knight d5, we can just take it. No big deal at all. In fact, the knight d5 move is the main line here, but after takes, we have zero problems at all. Just take everything, play f6, and this pawn structure is always very solid. Then you have king to e7, rook to d8, and slowly outplaying your opponent because you're much better at chess than he is. If they start with the move knight f3 instead of bishop c4, we still do the same thing, so we can transpose. But there is a nice bonus here. If they do play bishop c4, which is one of the main lines here, then we can even play king to e7. We basically save a tempo, right? We didn't need to play king e8 and then king e7. Now the rook is free to go immediately. After bishop g5, as always, be very careful with the move knight d5. Never forget about that. But here, since our king is already there on e7, we can just safely play the move c6 and cover that square. Now they castle and they attack the bishop. Another thing that is important here, not to blunder, bishop takes f7, as our bishop is going to be hanging, but just step back, bishop c7. This is protected. We are ready to play knight to d7 and launch our queenside attack with b5. Be careful not to do it too fast, because I think here b5 does not work. They can take and play bishop to d5. Our rook is hanging. So to avoid that, a good rule of thumb is you always first play the move knight b to d7. Those knights are extremely solid, extremely stable, and then you're ready for the move b5, a5, and the entire plan. I go 1000 times deeper into all of those lines in my 10-day opening mastery course, so if you're interested in really building the entire opening repertoire, lifetime holistic approach, and you're gonna learn so much more than just openings, because we dive into the middle games and you learn all of that based on the practical exercises that you get after watching the videos, so that it sticks to your mind. There are more than 350 exercises in the course so that you can truly remember what you are learning in the course and use it in your games. But the biggest shock for me personally is that under 2000, the second most popular choice for white in this position is not knight f3, not the main line, not the normal line, but the move d5. d5 is just destroying all of white ideas. Now you don't put pressure on this e5 pawn, and we are doing just great. We can continue the same plan. Again, the biggest advantage of this opening is that we do not need to memorize like different stuff against different move orders. We just play bishop e7. Yes, of course, here the queens are not going off the board, so we make castles like normal people. Knight f3, we just castle. I don't know what they play here. Bishop to d3, again, a very weird move because the bishop is locked. And we always and always play this move c6. This is our source of counterplay, so that we are ready to launch an attack on the queen side and sometimes in the center. For example, after castles, we can already immediately take this pawn. Yes, it's opening up the bishop, but it's not a problem for us at all. We continue with the same plan. Remember the c5 square. The c5 square is beautiful for the knight. For example, they play rook e1, we can immediately play knight to c5. The engine is throwing knight b6 at me, which, yeah, makes sense as well, attacking that pawn, but I like my knight c5, I want to stick to it. We attack the bishop, I don't know, they play bishop c4 because they're scared of it under 2000, but this is the second move with the same piece, and that's always and always bad. You're wasting time. Time is so important. Just play bishop f5, I don't know, rook c8, bring all of your pieces, launch an attack on the queen side. This is, strictly speaking, even better position according to the engine right now, right here. So this is how great this opening is. Finally, if they make the normal move, knight to f3, obviously a lot of people are gonna play it. We don't take on d4. Not so early. We always play this move knight b to d7, we defend the pawn. Never ever blunder this pawn. This is your key pawn. I'm never too tired to repeat that. Please don't do that, because afterwards you're gonna come to the comments and say, I have tried your opening, it's so bad, I have lost all of my games. Well, please just do not blunder your main and central pawn and you're going to be good to go. Okay, again, the main line is d takes e under 2000. This time we don't exchange the queens, but whenever they take, they release the pressure. They basically exchange this pawn on d4 for this pawn on d6. And obviously this pawn on d4 is more active, so it's always fine for us. The bishop is free to go. But actually, again, to save you the number of variation that you need to remember, just always play bishop e7. It's always going to be great. Castles, castles, then you play c6. You don't really care what they do. You play c6. Okay, they play queen e2, queen c7. Honestly, I see this position for like the first time in my life, because on my level nobody plays it. But there is no problem. I just play the same thing, and Stockfish already claims this position is much better for black. This is how great it is. You have this knight c5, you put pressure on this pawn on e4. This queen is always nice on c7. You can always play h6. And once you play knight c5, this bishop is free to go. I mean, this is fantastic, zero problems. Now let me get to the main line. If they do not take it here, it's bishop c4. You just play bishop to e7. This sacrifice, don't be afraid of it. Again, it's much better for black. One variation you need to know, they play knight e6, they take this pawn on c7, you play queen g6, you attack this guy and this guy. Yes, they can take your rook, but this is very, very bad for white. You play queen takes g2, and 99% of your opponents will already be crushed here. I'm gonna just show you the main line here. Takes on d4, bring your knight to e5, threatening just a fork immediately and winning your... In fact, there are a lot of games played in this position, and 1500 people played here f4 as white, which makes sense. I mean, it stops the fork, we are going to take it, and it attacks the knight. But this move loses immediately. You just win. It's -5 for black here. One move to remember, knight f to g4. You don't need to remember it. Just go forward and kill this king, because it opens up the king. Obviously, they don't have any time for taking this knight, because now this rook is hanging and this is checkmate in 2 moves. So that's easy enough. Don't be afraid of bishop takes f7. Realistically, they are gonna castle, you're gonna castle, and then something, let's see, yeah, rook e1 is the main line under 2000, we play c6. This is literally the same 7 moves you play every single time. The only exception is if they ever take, obviously, you do not continue with the 7 moves, you take it back. But then you still make all of the same moves. They play a4, you play a5, and again, your plan is to play on this part of the board. Rarely you play here. You play either in the center or on the queen side. h3, this is, by the way, the main line on the top level as well. And then I recommend this line knight to b6. Very interesting, attacking the bishop. They don't have time to take, because you're going to grab the bishop. So they play bishop b3, and then you play knight f to d7. The idea is simple. You want to bring your knight to c5. Doesn't matter what they do. Bishop is free, pretty much everybody plays, and now they can take with all of those pieces. You don't care. For example, knight takes d4 is the main line. You play knight c5. And actually, that move, bishop to b3, was not the right one. On the top level, they know that you're supposed to play bishop to a2 instead. But under 2000, pretty much nobody would know that, and there is a reason that with by a huge margin, bishop b3 is the main move. And now you are just threatening to take it. And you will be shocked, but the main line under 2000 is to play bishop a2. And now you can immediately take this pawn, and this is already not better for white. The point is, yes, they can take this pawn on f7, but that's not a big deal at all, because now you have a pair of bishops. You can play bishop d7, threatening c5. You can play, so they basically have to go away, and you still play the move c5. At this point, we can stop the variation. It's already 17 moves deep, but this is the main line, the most dangerous thing you need to be prepared for. And yeah, if they take on e5, just don't be afraid of this endgame. There is nothing dangerous for you. You're gonna learn a lot and win so many nice games. Alright, but what if they play the move d4? Guess what? You are doing absolutely the same thing. You still play the move d6. Under 2000, by a huge margin, the main line is c4, and we always answer with e5. Basically, whenever we can play e5, we do it once we play d6 first. This is called the English red defense, but you don't care about the names at all. Like, I call it the universal defense because we play d6 and the same setup against everything. But if you want an official name, this is called the red defense. Now, again, by a huge margin, they take here on e5. This endgame is even worse than the one I have shown you in the beginning. This is objectively not worse for black at all. In fact, my stockfish says here black is a little bit better. So knight c3, let's just check the main line. Again, we always want to restrict this knight with a c6 pawn, but we don't need to do it immediately. There is, in this line, there is like no danger for us at all. So we play bishop e6, we develop all of our pieces. The reason why this is so great is that white is not even creating any threats for us. This c4 pawn is so stupid. The bishop cannot go there, so our pawn is not under attack. There are different ways for black to play here and everything is fine, but I do recommend to stick to the same plan so that you don't blunder anything and you're good to go, and it's really universal defense. So you play this move c6, you restrict this knight, the knight cannot go anywhere. They play the move knight to f3, but the advantage of this endgame compared to the previous one, our knight is still on g8, which means we can just play f6. And this great thing that we are doing with this knight has no moves to go forward. It's literally the same with this knight. It also cannot go forward. We just play f6 and we defend it. I mean, this is beautiful. White has zero active opportunities. Okay, they play bishop e6. We don't care. We play the same plan, knight to d7. They castle on. Well, our king would be always great to c7. Obviously, we don't need to go to e8. There is nothing to protect there. So we can immediately go to c7, leaving the space for our rook here. One thing I do want to point out, don't blunder here with bishop c5, because they can take the knight first with the check and then take our bishop. One little thing, be careful with that. Well, we have so many ideas. We have this knight h6. The threat is knight g4. Like, if they allow us to play knight g4, we are basically strategically winning. So they need to play h3. But then this knight comes to f7, very good remaneuvering, and it can go to d6 later on, maybe to g5 and some variations. It's just a very good knight here. Now they play rook to d2. Again, the engine is screaming this position is better for black, and we haven't even done anything special. And it's really easy to remember. Restrict those knights with your pawns, and then bring your pieces out, and you're good to go. Now just bring your rook to the d file. There is literally nothing dangerous. Everything is protected. You don't have any troubles. Maybe one thing I want to point out, there is sometimes this resource of knight d5 to sacrifice the knight, but okay, it's already too deep. For example, if you play that, knight d5, we are not obliged to take it. We can just step back or forwards somewhere with our king. Everything is fine. We are ready for the move bishop to c5. I mean, no problems at all. In fact, the engine says we need to play knight to c3 immediately, and we can bring our bishop forwards, knight to c5. I mean, this position is just better for black. Finally, if they do not take on e5, they play a normal move. Well, on the top level, the normal move would be knight f3, but under 2000, somehow nobody plays that. If not d takes e, then they play the move d5. Now, you do have this active option of f5, but let's say we don't care at all. We just play the same thing. Knight to f6, bishop to e7, they play e4, we just castle, they play bishop to d3, we don't care, we play knight d7, literally all of the same moves. And again, this knight would be beautiful on c5, and that's what we do. One thing I do want you to remember, in every variation when you play knight c5, please play a5 so that your beautiful knight cannot be kicked away. And this time your plan is a little bit different because the center is completely closed and he has a lot of pawns over here, so attacking on the queen side would be difficult, but your pawn chain suggests that we should continue it and we should play on the king side. So this is literally one exception out of the rule that we play on this part of the board. When the center is completely closed, when they play this d4, c4 opening, we play on this side of the board. The engine is already giving me knight h5 and prepare the move f5, which is very, very logical. Now they play f4, the main line, and it's already better for black here after bishop takes. And we have a beautiful knight attacking this pawn, which is kind of blocking all of white's pieces. And again, this knight on c3 just bad. It just doesn't have any good function. Of course, this time we don't need to play c6 because the knight cannot go to d5. We always and always play this move c6 to restrict the knight, but this time it's not a concern anyway. And here there are a lot of moves. For example, bishop g5 is very logical. We do have a little bit less space, so it's great for us to exchange those pieces so that once they exchange, we take it, we play bishop d7, we play rook e8, and practically, I would argue it's easier to play this position as black, but also objectively, it's completely equal. We don't have any troubles. If they do go for knight f3 at some point, we just play knight f6 anyway. We follow the same setup. And here again, we prepare this move e5. We don't play it immediately, of course, because we are going to blunder a pawn. We never want to blunder this most important pawn. And that we play the move e5, and again, by a huge margin, the main line under 2000 is to take the pawn. But whenever they take, it's never a problem for us. They exchange a more active pawn for a more passive one. We play c6, we play bishop e7, we castle, and we don't have any problems at all. If they do play e4, however, this is the best way for white to play. Then we still play bishop e7, bishop e2, castles, and we play c6, and we launch our attack on the queen side. I hope this was useful, and if you want to learn more about this magic opening and build an entire opening repertoire both for white and black in just 10 days, now is the best time ever to invest in your chess education and buy my 10-day opening master course. Because for a limited time, I have a very special offer for you. On the 1st of May, I'm gonna celebrate my birthday, and you are gonna get a gift. So in addition to the entire 10-day opening master course, if you buy it in this limited time, you're gonna get a month of live lessons with me for just $1. Isn't that amazing? For a very limited time, if you buy the opening course, you also get a month of coaching from me, basically completely for free. Because I want to say thank you for all of the support. I appreciate it so much. In this playlist, you can see how I use this exact opening to crush my opponents in real, practical games so that you can do the same.